Our top story, ladies and gentlemen, today leads us to what is known as Dev Bhumi, or the abode of the gods, Uttarakhand. It's a state I come from. On the 10th of this month, the state government flagged off the Chardham Yatra, amongst the holiest of Hindu pilgrims that connects the 4 Himalayan shrines of Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath. Ladies and gentlemen, hold your breath. In the first 3 days alone, around 1.5 lakh pilgrims have visited the 4 sites. This is a massive increase of around 61% compared to last year, when 95,000 people had visited the shrine in the first 3 days. A 61% rise. Most noteworthy is the Kedarnath shrine, which witnessed a 60%, in fact a 67% increase in footfall since its doors opened. Similarly, the number of pilgrims have gone up by 61% in Gangotri, 59% in Yamunotri, and 47% in Badrinath. All of this points at a massive increase in last year's figures of 56 lakh pilgrims through the year, which were already up 46 lakh in 2022. Now, what this has resulted in is on your screens. Unchecked chaos across the mountains of Uttarakhand. From Haridwar, a 45-kilometer long traffic jam extends to Barkot, which is some 170 kilometers away. Beyond Barkot, the roads to Yamunotri and Gangotri are similarly congested. The wait for darshan at any one of these temples, especially Kedarnath, is anywhere between 20 to 25 hours. 11 people have already lost their lives waiting in queues. So what has caused this chaos? Well, the most obvious reason, of course, is the record number of pilgrims making their way to Uttarakhand. There has been an 80% rise in their numbers in the last 5 years. Now, logically, the state government should be capping the number of people who are allowed to visit the 4 dhams. But local pressure invariably wins. So instead of cutting down on daily limit, it is constantly, that is, the government is constantly upping the limit of daily visitors to these shrines. From the initial 38,000 to a revised 42,000 in 2022, then up to 47,500 in 2023, and then a further 58,000 in 2024. Again, these are figures of registered pilgrims. There are many, many more coming in every day without registration. And then there are those who cannot be turned back, VIP guests and pilgrims from other states. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the latest nuisance. People who don't come in the name of faith, but in the name of followers on social media platforms. Social media junkies and influencers have become a major nuisance in these pilgrimage sites when they hold up traffic to shoot reels and play dhol and nagada like what you're seeing. Big problem for the Uttarakhand administration right now. The Uttarakhand police has had enough. And with folded hands, it is asking people not to come to the Chardham Yatra, at least for now. And they're saying at least don't come if you don't have proper registrations, confirmed accommodation, or are traveling with infants or toddlers and elderly people who can't trek. I mean, can they really wait in line for 20 hours, 24 hours before they can get a darshan? If they can't, don't come. In fact, the Uttarakhand DGP has now written to his counterparts across India and asked them to not send VIPs for the Chardham Yatra and add to the chaos and crowds. Listen in.
वर्ष 2024 की चारधाम यात्रा 10 मई को शुरू हुई थी, जब 3 धामों के कपाट खुले थे, और जिसमें गंगोत्री, यमुनोत्री और केदारनाथ धाम थे, और 12 मई को बद्रीनाथ जी धाम के कपाट खोले गए। और सिर्फ 4 दिनों की यात्रा में ये ऑलरेडी ये आंकड़ा 2 लाख से अधिक क्रॉस कर चुका है श्रद्धालुओं का। इस साल हो सकता है कि ये आंकड़ा 70-75 लाख तक पहुंच जाए। जितने भी यात्री यहाँ हमारे प्रदेश में आते हैं देवभूमि में चारधाम यात्रा के लिए। सभी हमारे सम्मानित अतिथि हैं, उनका सभी का स्वागत है। लेकिन जिस संख्या में इस साल यात्री आ रहे हैं, तो हम एक तो यही उनको अपील करना चाहेंगे कि भीड़ को देखते हुए थोड़ा सा उनको धैर्य और संयम बरतने की कोशिश करनी होगी, और हमें उनकी सेफ्टी के लिए, उनके कन्वीनियंस के लिए जगह जगह हो सकता है कई बार हमें ट्रैफिक रोकना पड़े।
But this is clearly an advisory that is too little, too late. The development versus devotion debate has no easy answers. We understand that religious tourism is vital to the economy of Uttarakhand. But look at the events of the last few years. There are towns like Joshimath that are sinking into the earth, while there are forest fires raging on in half of the state. Glaciers are melting, landslides are killing people every day. Clearly, the hills are at a breaking point, and they need to heal. Yes, the Yatra provides direct and indirect employment to at least 50,000 people every year. It generates more than 1,000 crore rupees in revenue for the state. The 900-kilometer Chardham project linking the Chardhams will bring in a flood of pilgrims and possibly prosperity to the state. But at what cost? Do we really need a 2013 redux where flash floods in the state had killed 6,000 pilgrims to reset our priorities? That is a question I'm asking my guests who are joining me this evening. Anoop Nautiyal is a social worker. He's joining us on the broadcast. Puran Chamoli is a journalist. He's with us on the broadcast as well. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Anoop, I'm going to come to you. All right, Anoop, I'm going to come to you first and ask you one simple question. I'm just showing our viewers, in fact, in just a bit, we'll be showing our viewers pictures of these long, massive monster traffic jams in the hills and long queues, there they are, of pilgrims waiting to enter temples. Now, the state government is saying these are a record number of tourists. What can we do? How can we stop pilgrims from coming to the Char Dhams, given the fact that this is the biggest revenue generator for us?
So, Shreya, would you like me to comment on that?
Yes, please, Anoop.
Shreya, can you hear me?
I can, Anoop.
Shreya,
if you can hear me, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I was saying, because you've set so much of context, and the last thing that you mentioned was about this record. So, from my standpoint, I am extremely allergic to this word record, setting a record. And I would, in fact, like to set a record on your show by stating that a one word and one thought process that has to be completely discarded in the dustbin is the thought process that we are setting a new record. Because I believe that, that the government or the people here, we are not javelin throwers or 100-meter sprint runners that we have to set a record. Because in this, chaotic and mad pursuit of setting record, what we are in turn creating is what, you are showing to your viewers, and this entire chaos that we are seeing. So that is one part of the Chardham chaos and confusion and pain and agony. That is one. And of course, you can turn back and ask me, Anoop, what is the foundation behind this, beneath this? And rather, one sort of simple sentence, if we had to say, governance or absolute miss.
Okay, Anoop, unfortunately, your line is not very clear and your frame has frozen. We can't hear you, so we'll just come back to you. Can I just tell my production team to try and fix Anoop's audio, and then we'll come back to him. Anjal Prakash, you are a research director at ISB. A simple question. I mean, you've seen the pictures that are coming out of Uttarakhand this evening, in fact, yesterday evening as well. As I said, the government of Uttarakhand is saying this is a record number of tourists who are coming to us. What can we do? There is something actually that the government of Uttarakhand can do.
Absolutely.
The government of Uttarakhand can simply cap the number of tourists who visit the Char Dham every day. After all, there is a process of registration. Why are they not capping it? Why are they not stopping it? If you don't stop it, people will keep coming.
Yeah. That's exactly the point, Shreya, and I'm glad that you guys are doing a story on this because this is looks like a perennial issue now. Last year also we've seen similar images in other locations. Now I have done a study. When I was working with ICMOD, International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, and I did a study across the 4 countries, including India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, and we looked at the Himalayan towns. What we found that the Himalayan towns all across the region has the carrying capacity of the towns are very limited. And similar situation we have found 2 years before in Murree in Pakistan, where the entire folk from Islamabad has been actually flocked to a town called Murree. Similar situation we've seen in Shimla, in the other regions in India, where people from the plains try to go during the weekends or otherwise. But towns have their own carrying capacity. There is limited water resources. The other infrastructure is dwindling. We must do something. And what we had proposed are 3 things. One is definitely there's a bioregional capacity of the towns, and we must assess that. So there has to be a larger development planning, and we must cap how many people will be going. And there has to be a smooth, a process which is transparent enough, which will help people to register themselves in advance. That's number one. And this is what we have been done in Mansarovar, for example. So there is already precedence that we have. That's number one. The second part is also that, and we also have to see that some of these towns, people who live in these areas are some of the poorest people. They also have an opportunity, business opportunity for them. So we are not denying opportunities for them. At the same time, we are also looking at the environmentally benign process of tourism. So what we're calling out sustainable tourism. So there are process and ways in which we can do that. That's the second number. And the third is that we also have to see in terms of what are the infrastructure, what is how much these towns can actually have the number of people. So altogether, this calculation has to be very scientific in nature, and that's where it should be.
Okay, so here's the thing. After the 2013 Kedarnath flash floods, I had heard the same thing. The government had committed, we are going to look at the carrying capacity of our towns and see that the number of people who are there or the influx that we are seeing or the migration that we are seeing stops. I don't know what happened to that. Then after Joshimath sinking, the same thing was said. Has a scientific study been done on the carrying capacity of hill towns and hill states? No, it has not been done. Because, this is what happens. A tragedy strikes, we say a lot of things, the government says a lot of things, and then we simply forget till the next tragedy happens. Anoop Nautiyal, when we are seeing what we are seeing on our screens coming to us from Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri, Yamunotri, 45-kilometer long traffic jams, waiting hours of 20 hours or 25 hours simply to enter a temple. My own worry is this is a disaster waiting to happen. If you're talking about record numbers right now, a word that you're allergic to, Anoop, the fact is, wait till the Chardham roads get built. The project is complete. This is a 900-kilometer project, which is linking all the 4 dhams. I'm wondering to myself, if without those roads, if without that expansion, these are the crowds that are coming in, what happens after the expansion, after the project is over? How will the hills deal with it? The state will collapse. The ecology will collapse.
So Shreya, just to sort of step back into 2023, 5 key disasters, so to say, in the Himalayan region, since you were referring to that. So of course, the year began with Joshimath, then the monsoon of Himachal Pradesh last year, because all of us tend to have very, very short memories. Where apparently the chief minister often was talking about damages to the tune of 12,000 crore, the monsoon of Uttarakhand, then October 2023, the disaster in Sikkim, and finally 2023 ending with the infamous Silkyara tunnel episode. Now, we are on the cusp of the monsoon season. Correct. Once again. These large numbers of crowds that are coming. And Shreya, I really have a lot of sympathy also, for everyone concerned. It's not only the pilgrims, but also the poor people, who are entrusted with this responsibility to manage these surging crowds of pilgrims, And the first day of Chardham 2024, I'm sure you've seen those videos and those visuals where hundreds of people were stuck on this narrow 200 stretch on the way to Yamunotri. So these are really very, very, very grim, concerning, and scary images. And, God is kind. Nothing happened that day. But Uttarakhand is a disaster-prone state. I can go on and on, but I want to leave you, your viewers, and, of course, Mr. Prakash, whom I hold in high respect, And I want to refer now to a study by ISRO last year. So numerous studies are coming, which is also ironical that these are government studies which are government. Government is commissioning these studies, and it is government itself which is not listening to its stories. Nonetheless, let me come back to the ISRO report. Now, the ISRO report mapped 147 districts. These are landslide-prone districts across 17 states and 2 union territories in India. And hold your breath. Out of these 147 districts, the most vulnerable landslide-prone district was the district of Rudraprayag, which hosts and holds the holy Kedarnath shrine. Number 2 in this list was, again, another district of Uttarakhand, which is the Tiri district. And then, Uttarkashi district amongst the top 30. So out of the top 30, 6 districts are from our state. We are a very, very vulnerable state. And I am not saying this. It is ISRO which is saying this. Now, my question, Shreya, through your program today, to the policy makers, to the politicians, to the political leadership of Uttarakhand, also to, people in the central government, is that, when ISRO itself is saying, validating the fact that Rudraprayag is the most landslide-prone district in India, what care, what caution, what sensitivity are we exercising in the development of all these projects, in the path of this development, which is leading nowhere else but towards, destruction. So, as I said, I can go on and on, but I wanted to make this point about the ISRO report, wanted to highlight it today through your program.
Okay. Anjal, I have exactly 20 seconds. I want to ask you why then the political leadership in Uttarakhand is unable to take that tough call of saying this much and no more. After all, our neighboring country, Bhutan, does exactly that. Yearly, they have a quota. They will not let tourists beyond a certain point come into their country because they say we are a small mountain country and we are ecologically sensitive. We cannot take those many tourists. What is stopping Uttarakhand? Is it politics or is it greed?
It is nothing else. It is only and only politics and also lack of planning. So if I were to give you a specific example of 2023, when this carrying capacity of 47,500 was set for the 4 dhams, last year the holy portals opened on the 22nd of April in Yamunotri and Gangotri, and this cap was removed on the 21st of April because there were wide-scale protests from the priest community, from the hotelier community, from different people who are doing different businesses. Now, so this is also lack of planning. If you know that the stakeholders are going to act and react in this manner, we need to have sustained year-long conversations, get them in the loop. Of course, the Chardham Yatra is very, very vital from an economic standpoint. But why kill the goose that gives us, let's say, so to say, eggs every year? And as I said, the government does not want to antagonize anyone. So the easiest thing to do is कि आपने वो cap लगाया और आपने वो cap हटा दिया.
हटा दिया. लेकिन आप कब तक वो cap हटाओगे? Anjal Prakash, once the Chardham project is complete, 900 kilometers of road widening project linking the 4 dhams, can you imagine the flood of pilgrims and trouble that is coming Uttarakhand's way? Do you see this getting worse instead of getting better? That we can have this esoteric intellectual debate on television, given that pictures are coming in, लेकिन सुनने वाले नहीं सुनेंगे till the next disaster strikes.
No, exactly. That's the point. And, and thankfully that these are the points that the pictures, the images that we are seeing are the pointers towards a larger disaster, which is going to happen very soon, very fast. That is what the predictions look like. So we must take care of this. And you mentioned Bhutan. I had the good fortune to walk in Bhutan, but you cannot compare Bhutan and India in the planning process. I must say that each and every infrastructure project, the highest body of Bhutan, they sit and they minutely, look into small nuances of the project. They are very environmentally conscious people. They know their survival actually depends on the serene environment they're working in. We have not done that. We are opening up with a huge number of people and look at the images that we are seeing. It is a disaster going to happen. So we must get our act together. I think urban planning, and especially in the Himalayan mountains, we must, take it at most seriously, and we must act on this.
All right, we leave it there for the moment. Anjal Prakash, thank you very much. Anoop Nautiyal, thank you very much. This is just the first 4 days, the first 5 days of the Chardham Yatra. The crowds will swell. Let's hope nothing happens, but we should be prepared. Anoop Nautiyal, thank you very much. Anjal Prakash, thank you very much.